We'll discuss a little bit of the laws of Rosh Chodesh, specifically Yala Yavo in Shmona Esrei and Yala Yavo in Birkas Hamazon. So the Gemara tells us in Brachas, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, that there's a mitzvah to mention our davening Me'ein HaMa'ora, about the uniqueness of the day. On Shabbos we mention Shabbos, on Yantiv, on Rosh Chodesh. So what is the halacha if one forgets to say Yala Yavo in the Shmona Esrei of Rosh Chodesh? So which Shmona Esrei are we talking about? So the halacha is, what if you forget to say it at night, and it doesn't make a difference if it's one night, if it's 2 days Rosh Chodesh or 1 day? The halacha is, Ein Mekadesh es HaChodesh B'Layla, since Basin doesn't meet at night. Therefore, if one left out Yala Yavo, one would not have to repeat Shmona Esrei. So that's the halacha either night of Rosh Chodesh. This isn't true regarding Yantif, but regarding Rosh Chodesh it is true. One does not have to repeat Shmona Esrei if they forget Yala Yavo. L'chatchila you have to say Yala Yavo, but if you don't have to go back. What about Shacharis and Mincha? So let's discuss Mincha for a minute. So Mincha, and it seems to be the halacha for Shacharis as well, that if one forgets Yala Yavo at Shacharis or Mincha, one must repeat it. So by Ma'ariv, no. Shacharis and Mincha, yes. So what about the following case? The Gemara in the 4th parak of Brachas talks about the halacha of tashlumin, of makeup. The halacha is that if one misses a Shmona Esrei, one misses a davening, a Shacharis, a Mincha, a Ma'ariv, so the halacha is you repeat Shmona Esrei the next davening. In other words, if you forget to daven Shacharis, forget is the key word. You can't intentionally not daven and then say, okay, I'll make it up. That's Me'uvos Lo Yachol Liskon. That's something you can't make up. But if you forget to daven Shmona Esrei, so the halacha is you daven Mincha 2 Shmona Esreis. The first for Mincha and the second to make up Shacharis. So similarly, if you forget Mincha, you daven Ma'ariv 2 Shmona Esreis. So the law is a halacha of tashlumin. So Tosfos in the Brachas and Chavav and Beis, the top Tosfos, points out the following question: what happens on the last day of Rosh Chodesh? Let's say, so tonight's Rosh Chodesh, Monday night. It's Tuesday and Wednesday. So the last Mincha on Rosh Chodesh is Wednesday afternoon. So Tosfos raises the question, what if one... So if one did daven Mincha, so the halacha is you have to repeat 2 Shmona Esreis. But what happens, and even though you miss the Yala Yavo and Mincha, when you make up the Shmona Esrei, you only make it up without the Yala Yavo because Rosh Chodesh is over. Similarly, the Gemara says, if you miss the Shmona Esrei Friday afternoon, even though it's a 19 bracha one, you only make it up Friday night with 2 Shmona Esreis with the 7 blessing Shmona Esrei. The halacha is you only make up what you're davening now, not what you necessarily missed. So what happens if you daven Mincha on Wednesday afternoon, the last day of Rosh Chodesh, and you left out Yala Yavo? So if you remember, you just daven over. But let's say it's nighttime now. It's Wednesday night, Rosh Chodesh is over, and you forgot to say Yala Yavo. What is the halacha? So Tosfos culture, Rabbi Yehuda says there's nothing to do about it because you already davened Mincha. All you forgot was the Chiyuv Haskara, the Me'ein HaMa'ora Yala Yavo, the blessing of the part about Rosh Chodesh. And now you can't do it anyway because Rosh Chodesh is over. As I pointed, even if you forgot Mincha completely, you'd make up a second Shmona Esrei, but you wouldn't say Yalo v'Yavo. So you already davened Mincha, you left out Yalo v'Yavo. There's nothing to do about it. That's what Rabbi Yehuda writes. And the other Rishonim, among others, the Rif disagrees and says you have to daven a second Shmona Esrei. You have to daven a Tashlum and you have to do a makeup on Wednesday night. So the question is, what is the Nekudas HaMachlokas? What is the dispute between the Rosh and the Bali Tosas? Why does the Rosh say that you do not, if you forget Yalo v'Yavo, if you daven Mincha leave out Yalo v'Yavo, the last Mincha Rosh Chodesh, you have to repeat a second Shmona Esrei? And according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't have to. So the issue is, how do you review a Shmona Esrei without Yala v'Yavo? Are you Yotze, did you fulfill your mitzvah of davening, of prayer, except you're just lacking in the Chi of Haskara, you're lacking in the obligation to mention Yala v'Yavo? And that's why you have to go back? In other words, in general, why do you have to go back? Let's say you forget Yavo v'Yavo during Mincha on Rosh Chodesh. The halacha is you have to go back. That's a given. Why do you have to go back? Is it pshat that you already fulfilled your mitzvah of Mincha, but you're lacking the Chi of Haskara? And since the rabbi said you can't just say Yavo v'Yavo in a vacuum, it has to be in the context of Shmona Esrei, so you have to repeat the whole Shmona Esrei just so you can say Yalo v'Yavo. Is that why? Well, no. A Shmona Esrei without Yalo v'Yavo is a nothing, is a zero. It's like you didn't daven Mincha at all, and that's why you have to repeat. My nafkamina, what's the practical difference? Either way, if you forget Yalo v'Yavo at Mincha, you have to go back and repeat it right away. The difference would be is, let's say you don't remember until nightfall and Rosh Chodesh is over. So the Rabbi Yehuda holds you fulfilled your mitzvah of tefillah. You're just lacking in the Chi of Haskara, the remembrance, and therefore there's no point. You already got Mincha, and you're not going to get Yalo v'Yavo, so there's no point. And the Rif says no. A Shmona Esrei without Yalo v'Yavo is a zero, is a nothing, and therefore it's like you didn't daven Mincha at all. When everyone agrees if you didn't daven Mincha at all, you have to repeat a second Shmona Esrei. How do we paskin? We pointed out, if one forgets to say Yalo v'Yavo at night, the night of Rosh Chodesh, you don't go back because Ein Mekadosh and it's a Chodesh Balayla. The basin didn't meet at night. However, Shacharis and Mincha, you do go back. This is only on Rosh Chodesh, but Yalo v'Yavo on the night of Yontiv, you do go back. So we asked the following question. Let's say when it comes to Shacharis and Mincha, let's stick to Mincha. Let's say you daven Mincha and you left out Yalo v'Yavo, or now you remember and you finished davening Shmona Esrei right afterwards. So the halacha you have to daven over again. Why do you have to daven over again? Is it that you fulfilled the mitzvah of Mincha, except you're lacking the special mention of Rosh Chodesh? And since our Chazal have told us, a rabbi said that you're not allowed to say Yalo v'Yavo in a vacuum. You have to do it in the context of the Shmona Esrei. So I have to repeat the whole Shmona Esrei because in order to be able to fulfill my special mention of the day. Oh no. The explanation is if I didn't say Yalo v'Yavo, it's like I didn't daven Mincha at all. And just like the halacha is, if I didn't daven Mincha at all, I have to repeat Shmona Esrei. So what's the difference? Why? Either way, if I forget Yalo v'Yavo and Mincha, I have to repeat it over. What's the difference if it's because I fulfill my mitzvah of Mincha, but I'm repeating because of Rosh Chodesh? Or because it's like I didn't daven mincha at all. Either way, I have to daven mincha a second time, so what's the difference? The difference would be is the last night of Rosh Chodesh. This year it's Tuesday and Wednesday this month of Kislev, and therefore let's say you forgot to daven, you forgot to say Yavo Yavo at mincha Wednesday afternoon, but you don't remember right away, you remember when it was nighttime. So Rabbi Yehuda writes, Tosus and Chavav and Beis Chol Chavenu Yehuda, that you do not have to repeat Shmon Esrei again. And the Rif says you do. So what is the issue? What's the machlokas to Rif and Tosus, whether you have to repeat Shmon Esrei or not? So they point out that this is the issue. The Rabbi Yehuda holds you already fulfilled your mitzvah of mincha. The only reason you have to repeat Shmon Esrei is because you haven't fulfilled your special Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, your special mitzvah of mentioning Rosh Chodesh. So now you can't do that anyway because Rosh Chodesh is over. Hence, there's no point in repeating a second Shmon Esrei. And the Rif says no. He says Yavo Yavo Shmon Esrei without Yavo Yavo is nothing, and therefore you have to repeat Shmon Esrei again. So that's the Machlokas Rishonim. How do we paskin halach l'maisa if you forget Yavo Yavo in mincha, the last Shmon Esrei of Rosh Chodesh? So the Mishnah Brewer and other poets can bring that. It's a sveika dedina. It's a doubt the way we paskin. We're not sure if we paskin like Tosas or we paskin like the Rif. So what the Mishnah Brewer says is you make a Tanai, a stipulation. You say, if the halacha is like the Rif, so then I'm davening a second Shmon Esrei. So the halacha l'maisi, you daven a second Shmon Esrei Wednesday night. And you make the following stipulation. If the halacha is like the Rif, then I'm davening because I have to, so then this is a tashlumin, this is a makeup. But if the halacha is like Tosfos, I'm just davening with Torah's Nedava. There's a concept of Tzilas Nedava. Halavai sheyispal adam kol yom kulo. It's always appropriate to ask for mercy, and therefore it's like a free will offering, like we have by Karbanos, and therefore that's what you would do. So you would daven a second Shmon Esrei, but it's a suffix, it's a doubt how we paskin, so therefore you would make this stipulation. That's one practical difference. There's an interesting Magen Avram. The Magen Avram writes, if one daven Shmon Esrei Shacharis and forgot Yavo Yavo, and you remember right away, so the simple pshat is you repeat Shmon Esrei. However, the Magen Avram says if you already daven Musaf, you forgot Yavo Yavo Shacharis, but you didn't realize you didn't realize it was Rosh Chodesh, you didn't realize you forgot it until after Musaf. So the halacha is, the Magen Avram says you do not have to go back. So the question is, what's the Magen Avram talking about? Why don't you have to go back? What does davening Musaf have to do with Shacharis? Shacharis and Musaf aren't connected to one another. So what's the pshat in the Magen Avram? So clearly the Magen Avram is working with the opinion that, like Rabbeinu Yehuda in the Bali Tosas, that when you daven a Shmona Esrei without Yavo Yavo, you yotze your mitzvah of tefillah. So what are you only missing? The special mention of Rosh Chodesh. That's what we're doing in the Musaf. The whole Musaf davening of Rosh Chodesh is about Rosh Chodesh. And therefore, the Magen Avram says you could fulfill your mitzvah, not of Shacharis, not of your Tzio Shacharis, but of your Chiyuv Haskara. It's enough to mention it in Musaf. So and this would only work according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, but according to the Rif, he would disagree with this psak, because if you view Shmon Esrei without Yavo Yavo as nothing, as not, you haven't fulfilled your mitzvah of Shacharis, if the davening Musaf isn't going to help you. That'd be a second nafkamina. One is, what do you do if you forget Yavo Yavo, the last mincha, and it's Ma'ariv now, do you have to daven a second Shmon Esrei? And the second difference is, what about davening if you remembered after Musaf? Comes along with salvation and even says a bigger Chodesh in the Magen Avraham. He says that even if a person davens Shacharis and forgets Yavo, but he knows he's going to be davening Musaf right away, so then he says, wait, you might as well wait until Musaf and do not repeat, because we know on our own, but as the Ramah writes, that we don't have kavanah today. So really, bracha rishona, we should be having kavanah, but we'd have to go back, keep on going back every time, so we can't just daven all day. So since we don't have kavanah anyway, we don't have the right intent anyway, so therefore we don't go back. So the Rabbi is just arguing on a lechatchila. Everyone agrees, or I should say, well, halacha, we agree that once you daven musaf, you don't have to repeat shacharis, Shemona Esrei anymore. So the Rabbi says, I even say lechatchila, don't daven Shemona Esrei, because you're probably not going to have kavanah anyway, and it's way to be yotzei b'diavad at musaf. So what I do is when people come and they ask me what should they do, I say, come back and ask me after you daven musaf. And then when they ask me after musaf, I tell them not to go back anymore. So the straight psak is that if you forget Yavo and you remember in Shacharis, so then you do repeat. But according to the Magen Avraham, once you daven musaf, you won't. And the Rabbi is a bigger Chodesh even before musaf. If you forget Yavo and you're davening musaf right after Shacharis, you do not have to repeat. Let me point out, there's no difference between Shacharis and Mincha. It's only a pragmatic thing. We happen to be davening musaf after Shacharis. But if we were davening musaf after Mincha, so then the same halacha would apply to Mincha. If you daven Mincha and left out Yavo, and then you daven musaf, because musaf you could daven all day like Mincha, or Mincha you can't daven all day, but Mincha you could daven a half an hour after midday, but then you could daven until sunset. Musaf you could daven until sunset as well. Really the halacha is that if you're davening at home and you didn't daven Mincha Musaf, you daven Mincha first, because Mincha is Tadir is more frequent. That's a separate discussion. But either way we see that this issue is based on the machlokas. The Magen Avraham is working with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that we view you that you fulfilled your mitzvah of Shemona Esrei. You just haven't fulfilled your special mitzvah of mentioning Rosh Chodesh. Another nafkamina, third nafkamina would be is, let's say one is very meticulous in tefillah b'tzibor and davening with a minyan, which is a very good idea. So let's say you daven an early mincha, and you realized you davened at the 1 o'clock minyan, and when you came home at 2:30, 2 o'clock, 1:30, you realized you left out Yavo. So you have to repeat Shemona Esrei. The question is, do you have to be mahadir after a minyan? We're assuming you want to get credit for tefillah b'tzibor, for davening with a minyan, do I have to go back to the 4 o'clock minyan? So it depends on this issue. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you already fulfilled tefillah b'tzibor. You're just lacking in the special mention of Rosh Chodesh, so now you can just daven at home for. But according to the Rif, you didn't daven at all, so if you want to get the hiddur of davening b'tzibor, you'd have to go ahead and go back to another minyan. Another difference would be as follows. We know the halacha is that if one forgets to say Yavo, as we mentioned, you have to go back and repeat Shemona Esrei. And so too, Masha Baruch Mored Hagashem, as we mentioned last week as well. If you forget Masha Baruch Mored Hagashem, you have to go back. So the Gemara suggests in Brachas in the 4th parak, this is only if you're davening b'yechidus, by yourself. But if you're davening b'tzibor, so then all you have to do is listen to the Chazaras Hashash. You can listen to the Chazan repeat the Shemona Esrei, and you can fulfill your mitzvah by listening to the whole Shemona Esrei, including Yavo and Mashav HaRuach. So the question Tosfos asked over there in Brachas, this seems to go. So this Hilchos Gedolos seems to go against the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara at the end of Rosh Hashanah says that the Chazaras Hashatz, when we repeat the Shemona Esrei, it was set up for the Eino Baki. It was set up for the one who isn't fluent, the one who can't daven on his own. But a regular person who knows how to daven on his own cannot rely on the Chazaras Hashatz. That's the halacha. So comes along Tosfos and asks, how could the Hilchos Gedolos say that if you forget the Shemona, if you forget Yavo, you just have to listen to the Chazan? We just finished saying, obviously if you daven the first Shemona Esrei, you know how to read. So how could you rely on the Chazaras Hashatz, on the repeat Shemona Esrei in order to fulfill your mitzvah? So the answer is again, this is working with Shitas Rabbeinu Yehuda. That really, you're right. When do we say you can't rely on the Chazaras Hashatz? That's when you want to fulfill your mitzvah of Tefillah. But if you're just fulfilling your mitzvah of Yavo, that's enough. You can rely on the Chazaras Hashatz. We paskin, you can listen to the Chazaras Hashatz, but all the poskim say it's hard enough to have kavana, and we have a hard time concentrating. So once you go ahead, and it's better to daven on your own. But the Ikar Din, one is permitted to rely on the Chazaras Hashatz if you listen to every word. But the post can recommend you davening on your own. So we had, the question is, the Gemara tells us if you forget Yavo and Shemona Esrei, you have to go back. The question is, why do you have to go back? Do I have to go back is because I fulfill my mitzvah of davening, but I'm lacking in the special mention of the day, Rosh Chodesh. So Chazal said I have to repeat Shemona Esrei again because I can't do Yavo on its own. I have to do it in the context of the Shemona Esrei. And that's why I have to repeat, only because to fulfill the special mention of Rosh Chodesh, or no? Or it's because I didn't daven at all. So that seems to be a machlokas Rabbeinu Yehuda and the Rif, with a couple of practical, we said, what's the difference why you have to go back? Either way you have to go back, so who cares? So we gave a couple of differences. One is if you forget and you realize already after Rosh Chodesh is over, so you can't say Yavo anyway. So according to Rabbi Yehuda says you fulfilled your mitzvah of tefillah, there's no point of davening again because you're not going to mention Yavo. And if according to the Rif, you'd have to daven over again. Another difference would be the Magen Avraham writes if you daven, if you forgot Yavo at Shacharis and remember after Musaf, so then you don't have to go back because again, working with Rabbeinu Yehuda, that you fulfilled your mitzvah of tefillah, you just lacking in the chi of haskara. Or we said if you forget Yavo mincha, you have to go back and daven with the minyan again. According to Rabbeinu Yehuda, no, you already got the kiyum of tefillah b'tzibur. According to the Rif, no, you'd have to go back. And the last nafkamina we gave is, how come you could rely, according to the Hilchos Gedolos, the Baal Hilchos Gedolos, how come you could rely on the Chazaras Hashatz? If you forgot Yavo, Masha Baruach, instead of you repeating Shemona Esrei, you could listen to Chazaras Hashatz. Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah it's for the one who can't read. So that's only, so according to the Rif would say you're right, it applies here as well. But according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, who says you already fulfilled your mitzvah of tefillah, you just lacking the chiyuv eskara, so then you can rely on the Chazaras Hashatz. One last issue on benching, let's say Rosh Chodesh. Let's say someone was benching on Rosh Chodesh. They benched in Zimun, and then they left out Yavo. So actually Yavo wouldn't be a question because on Rosh Chodesh, because the halacha is, if you forget Yavo on Rosh Chodesh, you don't have to go back. Why not? If you forget Ritzei and Shabbos, you have to go back. So why don't I have to go back? What's the difference? So there's a very simple rule of thumb. It's a simple rule of thumb, but you have to know how to apply it. So the rule is, if you have an obligation to eat the meal, if there's a chiyuv suda, and then you forget Ritzei, Yalav, Yavo, the special mention of Shabbos, a Yontiv, then you have to go back. But if there's no obligation to eat a meal, it's just praiseworthy, and you forget Ritzei, Yalav, Yavo, one does not have to go back. So Rosh Chodesh is no chiyuv suda. So the luck is, if you forget Yalav, Yavo, and any meal Rosh Chodesh, you do not have to go back. But parenthetically, why, let's say, a Ritzei, the salvation gets the same chakira. Let's say, so the luck is on Shabbos, Friday night and Shabbos lunch, you have to go back if you forget Ritzei, but not Shalosh Shudas. Why not Shalosh Shudas? Why not the third meal? We have an obligation to eat 3 meals. So the reason why we're lenient is because since there are some opinions that say you can fulfill the third meal without bread, we paskin lechatchila, it's preferable one should eat bread for the third meal. But if you don't get any bread, it's too much, you're too full, especially on the early Shabbos now. So if you have cake or other things, you can fulfill your mitzvah. So since b'diavad, you don't have to have bread, so therefore, even if you do have bread, and you forgot Ritzei and Shalosh Shudas, one does not have to repeat benching again. So the question is, let's say on Shabbos or on Yontiv, when you have a chiyuv suda and you have to go back and eat a meal. So let's say you bench Zeman and now you forgot, let's say all 3, you forgot Yalav Yavo on Yontiv or let's say on Shabbos. So you have to repeat Shemona Esrei. The question is, why do you have to repeat? Is it like I didn't bench at all, like the Rif by David? Or no, I got credit for benching, I'm just lacking the special mention of the day. My nafkamina, what's the difference? Either way, I have to repeat Shemona Esrei. The Rav pointed out the difference is, would I bench over again? Do I have to do a Zeman over? So if it's like I didn't bench at all, so then I have to do a Zeman. But if I got credit for benching, I'm just lacking in the special mention of the day, so you bench over again without Zeman. That seems to be the way we pass. Those are some of the halachas of Yalav Yavo on Rosh Chodesh. Again, to review, at nighttime we do not go back ever on Rosh Chodesh. Yontif you do, but not Rosh Chodesh. Shacharis and Mincha, in theory, you would go back for both. Except the Magen Avraham says, since we normally daven, so if you daven Musaf right after Shacharis or right after Mincha, and you forget Yalav Yavo, so then you wouldn't have to go back for that Shacharis or for that Mincha. But ordinarily, if you're just davening Shacharis or Mincha independently, you're davening Musaf later, and you forget Yalav Yavo, one would have to go back. So at night, no, the other tefillas. Yes, and Rosh Chodesh, if you forget Yalav Yavo, one would not be obligated to go back because there was no chiyuv suda.